Welcome to another edition of LIMRA Unplugged. Today I'm talking with Jonathan Bennett, who's head of group benefits at the Hartford. Welcome, Jonathan.
Alison, nice to see you. Pleasure to be with you today.
Glad to have you here. And today we're going to be discussing workplace benefits in the era of COVID. And as companies come to grips with the new normal of COVID-19, many are taking a fresh look at their benefits. They're asking themselves what they can do to help their employees navigate through the pandemic and beyond. At the same time, many employers are struggling simply to stay afloat, and so they need to balance the pressure to increase their benefits with their own bottom lines. So, Jonathan, COVID has changed the world, and that includes the world of employee benefits. Employers are under stress and know that their employees are under stress as well. Many employers have been looking for opportunities to help their employees through this tough time. And of course, that includes benefits. And our research shows that about a quarter of employers say COVID-19 has them considering changes to their insurance benefits. Jonathan, what is the Hartford seeing?
Well, Alison, it's been very, very interesting. I think the year, words get used often, unprecedented and challenging and so forth, all of which totally valid and appropriate. I think there could be a long list. It's quite a fascinating time to be in the benefits arena. I think, what we have seen, and we were able to conduct a couple of very interesting studies, which have gone into producing our Future of Benefits report. And we happened to be fielding research just prior to the pandemic really taking hold and people moving to a remote status and beginning to deal with some of the things that you've identified, both among employers and employees. That gave us a unique opportunity to then field another round of research several months into the pandemic and the crisis and measure the change in people's attitudes and preferences, needs, and understanding in particular of their benefit programs. And so we've used that to help inform, I think, a lot of where we believe benefits are headed. I think the first thing to say is that the pandemic has revealed, I think, more about benefits to people than they possibly ever understood, imagined before. And it's difficult that a crisis is what it takes, but I think people have come to a new understanding of their own circumstance, what risks they face, and how they might want to be better prepared to deal with those. And employers have understood as well some of those challenges. They've fielded lots of inquiries from their associates. They're trying really very hard, I think, to deal with that in the most compassionate, effective way and to treat their employees to the best of their ability with the kind of dignity and support that they would really like to be able to deliver. And so, we're working hard to try to support through our customers their needs, the changes they want to make to plan designs. But the research itself has revealed a lot. And I think we've been fascinated to come to understand things like, a whole new level of insight around, what it means to have paid family leave. What are those benefits and how do they work? Will you have time off to be able to care for children who might be home from school because their school has now been closed for some particular reason? Or if you have elderly family members that now need particular care and no longer can get that through an in-home care worker or other means, that changes your life and you want to be able to respond. And how do you respond as a full-time worker, a full-time parent? All those things coming together in ways that I think are really bringing profound new understanding to the world of benefits and the kind of support that folks need as they make their way through a difficult circumstance like this, but wanting to be now fully prepared as they think about the future.
Yeah, as you say, a crisis changes things, and a lot of employers are looking for ways to support their employees when there are all these, unprecedented stresses that they have, trying to get family medical leave to take care of loved ones, kids who are home from school. It's leading to a lot of different stresses. And our research shows that, 40% of employers are now looking at benefits differently. And what we're seeing is there's increased interest in, some of the less traditional benefits like telehealth and other sort of emotional and mental health support services. What are you seeing?
Well, I think very similar in those along those lines. I think our research has shown. I think first of all, an important measurement has been that employers are increasingly seeing themselves as being very accountable, either mostly or fully responsible for making sure their employees understand their benefits, what's being offered, and how to best take advantage of it. In fact, 69% in our second wave of the study of employers agreed that mostly are fully responsible for making sure that their employees understand their benefit program. And that increased from just 3 months prior. And I look at that and say that's, I think, a very healthy response among employers to say that we have greater accountability. But among the things that they now see as being very, very important, new profile around what we think of as supplemental health benefits, and in particular, hospital indemnity. In many companies, people have access to a major medical program, their healthcare coverage, but those in today's world often come with higher deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. And what these supplemental programs do is they offer benefits under certain circumstances that would help defray some of those costs. Hospital indemnity is a great example. If you're hospitalized, there's a cash payout that can be used. And I think it's one of the things that now employers and employees are beginning to recognize as being very valuable to them as a part of an overall benefit package. So I think we expect to see more and more of that in the months and years ahead. I think another thing, as you point out about telehealth, definitely having access to medical professionals through a remote mechanism, definitely that's a clear trend. I think also mental health support. Employee assistance programs have been around, but I think many people have not fully benefited from those, have taken advantage of that. And now that has new prominence. And you can understand why in the circumstances that we face today. A lot of stress on all of us at home. And as we've already talked about, dealing with the pressures of perhaps kids out of school needing to be homeschooled, elderly, parents that now need new levels of support. And then just the change in our environment, a little bit more cooped up, not as many opportunities to get out and do things in our own lives. It's really put many things that we would like to normally do on pause. And as a result, I think people feel that pressure, that added strain. Having access to an employee assistance program is a way in which you can have a bit of an outlet, gain some support and assistance in that moment. So we see more of those trends definitely as being part of the benefit programs that employers want to make sure that their employees have access to. And I think the other thing I'll point out, and this is a bit of not so much about the benefits themselves, but just making sure that their employees are fully educated about the benefit programs that they have and have the right opportunity to enroll and take advantage of those. And now, because of the virtual environments we're in, the online options around those are much more significant. So the ability to enroll online, the ability to gain the kind of support, whether that be training or webinars or other tools that they can use to understand what benefits they have and how they work. All of those things are now, I think, bigger questions that are part of the evaluation employers are doing in their programs, and how employees are coming to expect that their place of work will engage with them, support them, and give them access to their benefit programs.
Yeah, and I like the way you're talking about engagement and support, because so many of the employers that we talk to really do have those goals in mind. And, you mentioned access to benefits and more people being remote, which really underscores the importance of communication, especially as we're coming up on enrollment season. So understanding communication, what works for employees who are under a lot of stress, who don't have access to the same types of meetings that they did before, so digital is becoming more important. I know you've done some research at the Hartford about communications during enrollments and after with respect to benefits. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned? Are there best practices?
Sure. I think there's a number of things that are emerging. The trend around digital has been certainly coming for a number of years. And I think a lot of workplaces certainly have some measure of access for that. But what's happened is a true acceleration of that need. In fact, we're here right now having our conversation, and the benefit enrollment season is upon most of us in corporate America. Large organizations, this is the period of time. And if you want to be thinking about new benefits or options, virtual enrollment is going to be the way in which many people are accessing these programs. In-person meetings, signups, sessions to learn more about your benefit programs, they're just not an option right now. So the digital mechanism is in fact what people are using now more than ever. And that comes down in many cases to quality content. And personalization, as we all know, is a big part of how we think of our online experience. We have expectations that have been building now for years, and we see that transcending into the benefits world, both for enrollment and for ongoing engagement. And by that, I mean, the more that we can understand you as an individual, the more through data and analytics we can understand your circumstance, your preferences, your needs. We can begin to tailor our messaging. We can make it fit more with the world that you face day to day, more specifically, and put benefits in that context. It's helpful for you to understand, if you're a bit younger, where life insurance, perhaps if you have dependents, plays a role and why that would be so critical, or why short-term disability benefits may be important. All of that is part of understanding you as an individual, customizing your engagement with the digital assets that we offer, and making sure that you have the best understanding possible as you're making those benefit decisions. So I think that that is one of the biggest trends that digital enables, but also is part of a data and analytics driven world that we now live in, and an opportunity to provide a level of personalization that in the past wouldn't have been possible. Certainly wouldn't have been possible sitting, with an audience in a large room somewhere on site with in-person enrollment. While that may have sounded very helpful, in some ways, I think this is a better way for us to become more targeted, to become more engaging, and to help people to really understand how these benefits fit in their life.
And so, again, we know that more employees are remote and that digital is becoming much more important. Our research showed that it was actually less than half of employers that offered online enrollment, but more than 2/3 of employees were actually enrolling that way. And, you're talking about, the opportunity to personalize and engage through digital and these new ways. Do you think more employers are going to be doing this? And if they are, what are the challenges that they'll face and how should they overcome them?
Well, I do think more employers are going to be doing this. I think the demand is there for lots of reasons. Certainly employees are increasingly preferring this kind of access. It's kind of a 24/7. Even during an open enrollment period, it means that, if you need to spend a little bit more time in the evening or first thing in the morning, you can kind of set your calendar and do this as it suits you as an employee. You don't have to schedule something. You gain access to it whenever you'd like. I think that's an important preference opportunity right there. But employers are clearly seeing this as a necessary way to engage their employees on benefits. Even in the circumstances that we face today, employers are very keen to keep their employees engaged. A ready workforce, a well-equipped workforce, and a fully engaged workforce is necessary for all of us as our companies begin to emerge and deal with the economic fallouts triggered by the things we've had to do to deal with the virus. But we're all looking to build our businesses back, to continue the growth. And so as people are looking to engage with their employees, these kinds of tools and capabilities are necessary.
Yeah,
What we're also finding is that these tools are not that difficult to necessarily deploy. Many employers have the ability to do it. And so we're clearly working with many to make sure that they have access to all of our tools and content. And I would also say that, there's been a wave that's been developing now for the last several years, which is, within, I think, the environment that we operate in as a benefits provider, you have a growing set of technologies going into the workplace around human capital management. These are enrollment platforms for benefits, other management tools that integrate more fully with for example, payroll information and so forth. And all of that together is creating a data interchange, and I think making it even easier to facilitate some of these enrollment opportunities. The setup is challenging, and I think employers are working hard with various vendors and other providers to bring about this transformation. But once built, once established, the data flows much more seamlessly. It integrates much more fully, and that enables the kinds of experiences that we're talking about for employees and allows employers to be much more fully engaged in delivering that kind of a benefit experience.
So the benefit there is twofold, again, for employees as well as employers, not just the seamlessness, but the ability to save time and to save resources. So
Absolutely.
it sounds like, technology is critical. It's going to be essentially table stakes are expected in terms of the ability to enroll online, and it also opens up a lot of opportunities in terms of personalization and other things. And then also, as you're saying, in terms of data standards, data exchange, there are a lot of opportunities where technology can help as well. And so LL Global's been working on an initiative, and we have a board of companies that are trying to help determine data exchanges so that, again, it is easier for both employers and the partners that they work with to exchange data. Can you tell us a little bit more about that work?
Sure. LIMRA has been, and LL Global has been just an enormously important partner for our industry in this moment of time. As I've been describing, data and the technology platforms that have been emerging, it's been a pretty intense transition over the last several years. And with all of that going on, I think the risk that diverging standards make this much more complicated, much more difficult, much more expensive for employers and employees was quite high. Through the work that we have been doing, and the Hartford is just very pleased to be a part of the steering committee working on these standards along with LL Global and LIMRA. It's just been a great experience, and I think as a result of that, we have now more and more organizations having participated that are building their technology in ways that make it simpler, easier, quicker for us to integrate all of that data and therefore deliver those kinds of experiences that we've been talking about with greater ease. And the more that we can do that, it benefits the entire industry because it really benefits employers and employees. And there's no reason for competing standards to be out there. So this has been a great way to have industry leadership and to have all of us participate effectively together on something that really does benefit our marketplace and our customers. So we're excited about it. We're big advocates for it, and we will continue to support it and to help drive it forward because we see it as a great way to continue to adapt to new technologies, but do so in a way that is the most efficient as possible.
Yeah, and technology can be a great thing, but really to fully understand and get the potential of it, you need to have everybody using it or accepting the same standards. And I think this is an example of, a great opportunity where the industry can come together and come up with a solution that helps everybody. Because I think, again, collaborative solutions, whether they be for technology or things like communication, are so important and offer so much opportunity. And so, we talked a little bit about opportunities for collaboration around technology. I think there's also opportunities for collaboration for the industry around communication, because we're really at an interesting, a historic time. You have more people who understand the importance of benefits. We've been surveying consumers throughout the pandemic, and we're finding that more and more of them are paying attention to and are concerned about, their life, their health, their insurance benefits, and what should they have, what do they have. So I think the industry has an opportunity to kind of communicate and kind of share the message for what the needs are, because we know historically people may not have elected these options as often as we might have expected, given that 1 in 4 is likely to have an event that would require the use of insurance. So from a communication perspective, what do you think will be most effective, or what do you think can help employees understand, what they need and how to go about getting it?
Well, I think we're all working hard to help employees become more and more aware of the options that they have. I think that's the crucial part of it. And that's where we come back and we start to weave into this, the personalization messages, the opportunity to really customize to their point in life and their life stage needs. And I think, that, is delivered in many cases through the workplace, but many of the companies in our industry, we have broader platforms, and I think events just like the one we're having here, opportunities to share more about these stories and speak to the real value that our products deliver to individuals, particularly, when we're struggling with difficult issues, thinking about, the needs of their family in different ways. I think it's just a great chance for us to all use our voice to talk about these benefits and to advocate for what we think are some great ways to help mitigate these kinds of risks and help people to deal with difficult circumstances when they arise. So I find that many in our industry are engaged in this right now. I think it's a great trend for us to all be supporting this. I think there's a lot of common messages, as you're pointing out. And certainly we at the Hartford are working with all of our clients to help them to better understand the tools that we can bring to the table for them and the ways we can better support their communication efforts with their employees. And I think that there's going to be a wave of energy to develop those kinds of tools and capabilities to make it more interactive, to make it more personalized, to make it more really relevant to what employees are dealing with. And I think in addition to that, product development will begin to follow. And you'll find that there are more benefit options being presented. And, that's very helpful, but it also then gets back to the more we can communicate, the more effectively we can describe those benefits in the context of their life needs, the better we serve those individuals and really help to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, and really making a difference is so important, especially now. There aren't a lot of bright spots that have come out of the pandemic, but I would say, what I've seen from carriers, manufacturers, and employers is a true concern about their employees and trying to figure out what they can do to help, and looking at how they're working together to leverage technology, to find ways, again, to make things easier and better has been one bright spot. And I'm excited about that. It's kind of accelerated some trends that were already in place. But, it does seem like there are some bright spots that are coming out of the pandemic. And I do appreciate you talking to us today about some of them. So thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be a part of this conversation, and thank you so much for taking the time.
So that concludes another episode of LIMRA Unplugged. Thank you very much for being with us today, and have a great day.